5 most terrifying fatal zoo animal attacks. Visiting the zoo provides an enjoyable experience akin to exploring the wilderness, minus the fear of being clobbered by a wild creature. After all, the caged fierce animals we ogle at are tamed and trained, but when their ferocious nature takes control, they can stage a fatal attack and leave an unsuspecting human lifeless. Number 5. Mila the Elephant. In May 2010, dedicated veterinarian Helen Schofield was touched by the plight of a 35-year-old African elephant named Mila. So she brought her back to the Franklin Zoo and Wildlife Sanctuary in New Zealand and nursed her back to health. At 3 years old, Mila was taken from her family group in Africa, which deprived her from socializing with others of her kind. For decades, she was known as Jumbo, touring circuses in New Zealand and developed panic attacks. Schofield's goal for Mila was to live in a place with other elephants. But on April 25, 2012, a shocking tragedy took the life of Schofield. Mila, perhaps in a state of panic, picked the vet up, lifted her into the air, and crushed Schofield to death. Animal experts said it was more likely that Mila, after 35 years in captivity, simply snapped. After her death, Schofield's dream was fulfilled when Mila was taken to the San Diego Zoo and integrated with other elephants for the first time. Mila later died at age 44 due to heart failure. Number 4. African wild dogs. There are exceptions to the saying a dog is a man's best friend, and African wild or painted dogs are one of them because they can be life-threatening. Such was the case of Maddox Sturkush, a 2-year-old boy who died after a pack of African wild dogs mauled him at the Pittsburgh Zoo on November 4, 2012. His leisurely visit with his mom Elizabeth at the zoo turned into their family's worst nightmare. On that chilly mid-morning, Elizabeth wanted Maddox to have a better view of the African canines, so she positioned him on top of a railing at the viewing deck's edge. Not long after, the boy lost his balance and fell into the enclosure and became the prey of 11 African wild dogs. Elizabeth attempted to rescue her son, but was restrained by fellow visitors. Her heart broke as she painfully witnessed the pack of wild dogs immediately pounce on the still conscious Maddox, then rip him apart. It was the first death at the Pittsburgh Zoo since the last one, which was 40 years ago. Number 3. Tatiana the Siberian tigress. On Christmas Day in 2007, Siberian tigress Tatiana brought horrific chills instead of holiday cheers when she escaped from the tiger grotto at the San Francisco Zoo, killed 1 and injured 2 other persons. Shortly after the zoo closed, Tatiana may have leapt or climbed out of her enclosure's walls and ravaged 17-year-old Carlos Souza Jr., who died from blunt force head trauma and neck injuries, chest punctures, skull and spinal fractures. Tatiana's ferocity also inflicted injuries to brothers Amripal and Kulbir Alawal, who suffered from deep bites and claw wounds on their heads, necks, arms, and hands. When armed officials arrived, Tatiana was sitting on one of the brothers' feet as if guarding her next victim, who was profusely bleeding. The police distracted the tigress, and as she approached them, they fired a series of shots until Tatiana, who was 4 years old then, couldn't escape death. Investigators believe that Tatiana's attack was caused by the provocation of the 3 guys, but it wasn't proven. But if it was indeed true, then hell hath no fury like a taunted tigress. Number 2. Nyanga the Lioness. The Johannesburg Zoo in South Africa took pride over the fact that it had never had a fatal animal attack for 50 years. But such a record ended after the zoo's golden year when an 11-year-old white lioness named Nyanga killed a 63-year-old zookeeper on February 13, 2012. It was a normal morning for Joe Remenitha at the zoo's conservation farm in Paris, 75 miles from Johannesburg, as he was preparing Nyanga's food and cleaning her enclosure. Unaware that the security gate had accidentally been left open, Remenitha was then attacked by the lioness. Nyanga sprung at the throat of the zookeeper and bit his neck that caused Remenitha's death upon arrival at the hospital. It was an unexpected death of a trusted employee who had served the zoo for 40 years and bonded amazingly with the animals. The zoo's spokesperson said that the lioness reacted instinctively upon seeing Remenitha, who perhaps tried to run away, but Nyanga didn't take his body away like prey. Unfortunately, Nyanga's single deadly bite easily took 1 person's life. Number 1. Tilikum the Orca. Tilikum was one captive orca with a colorful reputation. He was the largest bull orca at 22.5 feet long and 5,700 kilograms heavy. He sired 11 offspring since his 1983 captivity, and he killed 3 persons. A year after he was caught in Iceland and confined to a marine zoo tank, Tilikum was transferred to Sealand of the Pacific, a public aquarium in Australia, and again moved to SeaWorld Orlando, Florida in 1992. His notoriety as a killer whale started in 1991 at Sealand, when Tilikum and 2 other orcas drowned a part-time female trainer who fell into the pool of orcas. In 1999, a 27-year-old man who stayed after SeaWorld Orlando closed entered the orca's tank and was found dead over Tilikum's back with numerous bodily wounds, contusions, and abrasions caused by the whale. Tilikum struck again in 2010, and many were shocked to witness his aggressiveness. While his longtime female trainer was rubbing Tilikum as part of a post-show routine, he suddenly grabbed and pulled her into the water, causing her to drown and suffer blunt force trauma. Perhaps familiarity can indeed breed contempt. Thanks for watching. Please like and share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for your daily dose of voodoo videos.